Williamson, Inc. serves as Williamson County's Chamber of Commerce and Office of Economic Development. In partnership with the Williamson Herald, WBKM Radio, they brought together Meet the Candidates, an interview series open to all candidates for this office to help inform the community. During these conversations, candidates will share their views, and I may also share some of my own opinions as part of the discussion. Those opinions are my own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Williamson, Inc., the Williamson Herald, WBKM, or any organizations involved in hosting this series. You can find additional voter resources, including these interviews and written candidate profiles, at williamsonchamber.com/vote. I know Allie Adair by her work in so many different things in this community, primarily through Leadership Franklin. Now, she's involved in this board and that board, and more than this poor feeble head can remember. She has taken some advice from Leadership Franklin Director Paula Harris, who advises Leadership Franklin graduates to put your name on a ballot. Well, you've gone and done that, haven't you?
I'm a good listener.
And you chose the school board. Why did you choose the school board?
I absolutely love the youth in our community. And I feel like it is important to build a good foundation with the youth in hopes that they will come back like I did, and give back to the community that we all live in. So I feel like school board is a great place to plug in. Education, I feel like, is a huge economic driver for our county and has been for a while. And I think that it's just important to give back to things that we love. And I appreciate my education that I got from Williamson County Schools, and with all three of my children, and I feel like it's important.
Allie Adair, can they afford to come back and buy a $1.5 million house?
So I'm fortunate enough that when I graduated, I could go and come back. But I do have a 24-year-old and a 22-year-old who are struggling trying to set up camp here in Williamson County.
Well, it's good that they can have that as an objective.
Yes.
Let's talk about being on the county school board. It's different than it was just 4 years ago. It's different.
It is.
Now we're taking time to talk about cell phones in schools, much less what's in a chemistry book. We talk about cell phones in schools. What motivated you to choose the school board?
So I do think that technology, and as we start to see more studies come out about how technology impacts our youth, is a big part of our discussion these days. Even 20 years ago, we didn't have cell phones in school. So technology is a huge part of what drives me, but also just making sure that our county schools remain strong and headed in the right direction for the youth that we have now.
You know, we're sitting in Williamson, Inc. this very moment. Williamson, Inc. is the organization that handles a lot of the county's economic development. They use those schools as their number one tool to sell Williamson County. Sometimes that's a two-edged blade. Now, recently we haven't had to build a school in 3 years now, because growth has flattened, and we're pointing a finger toward that $1.5 million house. How many people can afford that? Well, right now we're seeing results in data-driven numbers. How long can we afford that?
No, that's a good question. I think the last I heard out of, I can't remember who shared it with me, the county is just not producing elementary age students.
The young families have stopped coming.
It's hard. It's hard to set roots here. But they're still seeing growth in the high school So they're kind of being able to maneuver in somewhere in that middle and high school range. If we are unable to get younger families into the county, that will definitely change, continue to change really, the numbers that we see in schools.
Are there any school teachers in your family?
There are.
Isn't it a shame that a teacher who has who has made the commitment to Williamson County can't afford to live here?
It is.
Can the school board do something besides raise salaries?
Yeah, when it comes to that, I don't know that that's really in the school board's purview, unfortunately. They've done a lot of raising, the county has done a lot of trying to, really overall raise the lower end of a lot of our workers, not just teachers. That's great, but I don't know that we'll be able to overhaul what we're seeing right now, unfortunately.
Well, just this year we got to a starting salary of $50,000. It's taken a while.
It has taken a while.
And perhaps that is something that time will solve on its own.
Perhaps. A lot of teachers get into the business, in my experience, not really for the paycheck. They have a heart for what they do. It's a true love and a true passion for what they do. So
it's a shame they can't eat that.
That's true.
It's a shame they can't spend that.
That's true.
We've talked before about the role of a school board member changing. There are so many policies. Mm-hmm. There are so many school board policies. Can you keep up with them? There are so many of them.
I picked up a copy of the policies.
And it's pretty thick. It's pretty thick.
It's about this thick. But that is what school board really is. They're the policy writers of the school district. They don't really manage the schools per se, but they manage the policy. So it is a lot. Unfortunately, as time changes, I think we all know this in regular business. It always takes that one person who creates a situation that causes another policy to be written. So I think that will unfortunately kind of be the way that it goes. Policies are written to kind of curb behaviors that we see.
Say you get elected. What are your goals? What are your objectives?
My goals and objectives. Well, I do think that it's important that the school board supports the teachers. That's how we continue to thrive in the school. Focus on technology. I do think that technology was great when we went through COVID. It allowed us to keep school moving forward. But gosh, I had a kindergartner in COVID, and those Chromebooks got really heavy. Mm-hmm. Luckily, we don't have to bring it home every night now like we did for the first, K through 4th grade. But I would like to see us kind of get back into some of the more hands-on standards that we saw in classrooms a while back. So technology is kind of something I have my eye on as studies continue to come out and we kind of see what havoc that wreaks.
Twice in the last month, there have been student protests, one at Brentwood, one at Ravenwood, mm-hmm. That made the news. Mm-hmm. Just the past few days ago, those students, by the way, at Brentwood and Ravenwood, have individually been called into the principal's office at Brentwood and Ravenwood, and okay. They're finding out that there are consequences. Mm-hmm. Something amazing happened at Nolansville just in the past couple of days. They had a protest, mm-hmm. but it was planned. Mm-hmm. The principal and the administration was notified. Mm-hmm. Each student participating had an early dismissal form signed by their parents. Mm-hmm. Not one of them will be called into the principal's office mm-hmm. because they did it right.
Right.
Is this an educational tool, or is this something that's indicative of American culture in 2026?
So I know that I attended the policy meeting that the school board had this month, and this was one of the topics that they discussed. And so I think that you have policy. Parents have a choice to, work whatever that policy is. Sounds like that's what they did in Nolensville. But I think we just need a strict or standard policy across all of the schools. And as long as we're running that policy amongst everybody, and I know that's something that they're looking at, is how each school individually handled, and did they all handle it the same, across the same standard. So I think that, if a parent wants to check a kid out of school, that's their parental opportunities being exercised. And we are just here to write the policy from a school board perspective, and how it's utilized by parents is on their head.
Because in that form, when a parent signs that form, they accept responsibility.
They that's right. And the school's no longer liable for that child's actions.
No.
Yeah.
From an objective point of view, are you prepared for the phone calls? Are you prepared for the visits, the emails, the texts, the looks at Publix? Are you prepared for public interaction?
I would like to say I'm prepared. Who knows what it will throw at me, or what exactly those emails look like or those phone calls look like. One thing that I really enjoy in my involvement with the community is relationship building. And while every relationship may not be a builder, we may not always see eye to eye, I do enjoy having interactions with people and kind of being able to understand how they look at things and see where we can find, a common working ground. So it could very well be challenging, but I'm up for it.
Well, you're good at it. You're good at it. Final question before you give your pitch.
All right.
Evaluate your one employee, superintendent of schools.
Well, he's currently not my employee.
Well, when you become a member of the school board,
Correct.
He would be, but
I would say that I haven't had a lens on to giving an evaluation at this point in the game. So I think it would be unfair. Now, ask me that question once I get on this seat, and I'll give you a better answer. But I hate to say that I've really done due diligence in evaluating and give a response.
That's a fair response. Okay. All right, look into the camera and tell us why you should be on the school board.
Yeah, so I'm Allie Adair. I'm running for school board District 10. I would absolutely love your vote. As a lifelong member of Williamson County and a graduate of Williamson County schools, all three of my children have gone through Williamson County schools, two of them already graduating. I feel like I have boots on the ground and a good pulse on what's going on in the community, and can provide a lot of opportunity to the school board.
Keep knocking doors.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Elliot Franklin is a candidate for Williamson County Board of Education, District 12. Where is the 12th district,
10.
Elliot Franklin?
We're in 10.
Let's start all over again.
That's okay. There's two of us in 10. Yep, running for 10.
All right. My list here says 12, but you did say 10th, and that's right.
Yep.
Okay. Elliot Franklin is a candidate for 10th District, Williamson County Board of Education. Do you know what you're getting into?
Yes, Tom. It's interesting. I ran back in 2022. I was in a different district. My family has since moved. We downsized, and so, but been in Williamson County since 2018, and attended quite a few of the school board meetings. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to serve. There's a lot of opportunities, and there's a lot of great things to continue moving forward.
Before we get into school board business, tell us about Elliot Franklin, what you do for a living, your family.
Absolutely. Tom, in 2018, a company moved my family here from Texas, so born and raised in Texas. Have 6 kids, 3 boys, 3 girls, only 2 left at home, 3 in college, and 1 that's married. And by day, I am an ethical hacker. So for 20 years, I've tried to keep the bad guys out of hacking into our systems. And it's a job, one of those jobs you wish didn't exist, but unfortunately you have to have it nowadays. So I love what I do, helping companies. And I lead an organization. I lead a security team for a company, a financial services company, and we try to keep the bad guys out and keep the company operating.
That sets up your very first question. Since you are, quote, an ethical hacker, and that's a great marketing line, by the way.
That's right.
But you're in security.
Right.
Will AI advance hackers as well as us normal folks?
No, it's a great question, and it's absolutely one of the items I have, in my platform is we have to embrace AI. We absolutely have to, and we have to use it smart. To answer your question directly, yes, it will absolutely. It is helping the hackers, and so we have to use it as well. It is absolutely accelerating how quickly they can hack us. It's taking what normally would take a lot of manual research, and it can just do it automatically for you. We've got to do the same thing with education and with our jobs. We have to take advantage of it. Will it replace certain jobs? Sure, but at the same time, it's going to help us enhance, just like any new technology that's ever been invented. It's going to help us accelerate what we do and the boring, mundane stuff so that we can do more of what our brains are meant to help with.
In other forms of technology development, we didn't know we were developing it. Now we do.
That's true.
This is an amazing opportunity. Do we have what it takes to take advantage of that?
I look to some of the recent Williamson County Schools robotics competitions. I mean, we've got some great foundation in our schools today. I think, again, it's age appropriate. We talked about when is it right to introduce it? At what levels is it right? Do elementary students need to have AI in their instructions? Probably not, but middle school and high school, absolutely. And they need to know how to use it correctly and not use it for plagiarism, like, the age-old, it should spark ideas and help us move quicker. But we still have to have critical thinking skills. That's required.
When I was at Lipscomb University, it was called David Lipscomb College at the time. I wanted to use my calculator in math class.
Yes.
No. Will we have to do the same thing? Or we're still going to teach people to think for themselves, aren't we? But to maybe a little bit faster, a little quicker.
Right. I'm a huge back to the basics person, and you can ask my team for 20 years that I managed. You have to know the basics. And when I teach courses as well, you talk about like web design. I teach you how to do it in Notepad first before you go use the fancy graphical tools. That's exactly what you're talking about. Yes, you need to use calculators. You have to use that. But if you don't know how to troubleshoot it, have the logic behind it, then you're going to fall behind. And so I'm huge on the basics, reading. Again, we talk about the reading comprehension and phonics. You've got to understand reading. It unlocks so many doors in getting younger, making sure you can read at a young age. And math is the same way. Math doesn't change in terms of how you learn it and how your brain processes it.
So it doesn't make any difference what machine you're using. If you don't know what the machine is doing, you don't know.
That's right.
And so
yeah, the basics are so critical. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. They want to go to the flashy, blinky, fancy things, but you've got to understand the basics. And that's in order to be successful in business as well.
I remember the conversation with you. It was 4 years ago, wasn't it?
It was.
From that standpoint, why do you still want to? And believe it or not, being a school board member has changed just in the last 4 years.
Sure, it has.
And you still want it?
So a lot of people say, why would you want to torture yourself? Well, Tom, both my parents were school teachers. My dad ended up being a school principal. My mom was actually here, traveled in from Texas when I pulled my petition, so that was very special. Didn't plan it that way, but that's the way it worked out. I think being an educator, being a lifelong learner, look, the students are tomorrow's voters. They're tomorrow's employees. It's just super critical that we help give them and the teachers the tools they need so that they're successful. There's, you hear all this, you see in the news and all the different school board meetings and parents, and the uproar that happens over certain things. And so I'm more interested in kind of the three pillars is the funding, the transparency of funding. That's a big issue here in Williamson County is the funding of our schools and the teachers and the salaries and such. The safety, of course, of the students, which I know is always a concern. And then the basics, again, the curriculum. How are we teaching them? Are we allowing the teachers to teach? And those are kind of the three pillars that I'm running on.
Let's talk about school board policy just a moment. There's so many of them.
Yes,
It's hard to
too
pick
many,
one
too many.
out. But let's talk about most of these policies are designed by staff members.
They are.
Now, there's been one policy, textbooks.
Yep.
The school board kind of went their own way.
Right.
Now, most of the time, 90% of the time, they're going to take what the staff suggests.
Right.
Because a lot of time, and when you're talking about a staff that large, a little time is a lot of money.
It is.
So, hey, you've already spent it. Are you sure you don't want to pay attention to it? What's your attitude toward that?
Yeah, and I spoke to a school board policy at this last meeting, but not about textbooks. This was more about attendance and the disruption and walkouts and different things that were going on. But when you go back to textbooks and curriculum, again, the school board governs, the teachers teach. And certainly you have to have input from the teachers. I mean, they're the employees. They're the ones that make us successful. I think there's always going to be controversy, but when you go back to the curriculum, what is the curriculum? Is it the basics? Was that math? Was that reading? I think that was science. I think, and psychology was the one where there was some differences of, the social emotional learning and these different buzzwords that are coming in. I'm again the basics. Like, why are we trying to change if it's working? Why are we trying to change it? So. I think sometimes the school board might have to make those decisions, but it better be rare, like you mentioned, and there better be one of my pillars is transparency. There better be a good reason why. I mean, you better have taken the parents' consideration in as well for those.
You brought up something which we wouldn't discuss with a county commission candidate, but we'd better discuss with a school board candidate, because something tells me this is a trend. It's not an aberration. We've had at least 2 walkouts that I know of.
Right.
Now, and we've asked the superintendent, and we weren't the only ones.
Right.
There was I think the Republican Party chairman asked about it. What are you going to do about it?
Right.
Well, this is a teaching opportunity, it appears.
It is.
That, yes, these students, 100 at Brentwood, 50 at Ravenwood, students are fairly much alike, whether they go to Fairview or Franklin. So I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't any more.
Yeah.
About any number.
That's right.
Freedom of speech.
Very important.
Yes, even a high school student has freedom of speech. Pardon my English, freedom of speech ain't free.
That's right. That's right.
You have to pay a price for it.
That's right.
And those 150 students are meeting with their principal, and they will learn that there is a price to pay for breaking the rules.
That's right.
What? You're in your 40s?
50, just turned 50 this year.
I'm in my 70s. I've learned a long time ago that there's a price to pay for just about anything. Are you willing to pay it? If you're willing to pay it, okay.
Right.
You still got freedom of speech.
Right.
What, as a school board member, how would you react to something that's fairly new in this system?
Yeah, I was when I spoke at the board meeting about it. I was impressed with the superintendent and the board members in terms of what they had thought through, and they are. And then the policy meeting, which was just last week, also they talked through that in terms of what policy should we update. Again, we have too many, but in terms of specific attendance and disruption of class, give them an opportunity. They have to have free speech. Set them aside a specific period at lunch or before or after school that they can do it. But if they do disrupt classes, and it's disruptive to everyone, regardless, like you said, of the topic, there has to be consequences. So whether it's detention, a day in alternative school, but make it, it needs to be fair and it needs to be in the documentation for everyone. But then, yeah, they've got to pay that price. But give them an opportunity. Tell them to do it during lunch or set up a free speech zone or something like that where maybe it's, it doesn't interrupt class, but we can't interrupt instruction.
Now, say, I'm amazed that you're from Texas. You appear to be a perfectly reasonable man.
Come on. Yes, born and raised in Texas.
All right.
Yep.
Because, all Texans are transplanted Tennesseans. So
It's sister states for sure, yeah.
So you point a finger at a Texan, you're really pointing at former Tennessean. From that standpoint, did you bring any Texas attitude to Tennessee with you?
Well,
do they do anything better in Texas than we do here?
Everything's bigger, right? It has to be. It has to be. In terms of the taxes, it was very interesting when we moved here in terms of property taxes. It was how they're done, and sales tax is higher, but property tax is only on a third of your value. But when we talk about taxes and giving back to Williamson County in the TISA funding model, that's something that we continue to need to work on with the legislatures. In Texas, we had a Robin Hood lawsuit just because of this. This exact same thing happened where they consider Williamson County a wealthy district, and so they're only giving us back 30% of what we pay. So the taxpayers have to pay 67 cents on the dollar for our schools here. Why is that? When you talk about fairness, we need to get back to where we can fund our teachers better because of that.
Sometimes the Tennessee General Assembly can go a meddling. They did it a few years ago. System handled it about third grade. I'm going to call it accountability.
Right.
For third graders, where do we determine when third graders ought to become fourth graders?
Right.
But the system handled it and handled it pretty well. I think maybe out of the thousands, one student was held back.
Right.
And that's probably not the right term. But sometimes, for instance, there's a bill right now that potential teachers, people who want to teach, who have the certification to teach, have to pass a test, a civics test. Should be no problem.
Right.
But it adds another layer of bureaucracy to becoming a teacher. Now, maybe if the legislators, maybe if they have to take the test too, maybe I can buy.
Isn't that the truth, right?
But there are a lot of people who have an education. Parents are supposed to have an opinion about education.
Right.
They've got taxpayers should have an opinion about public education. Do you work with taxpayers differently than you work with parents? You are one.
Right.
Well, I guess you're both.
I'm both. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, no, and that's a common question that comes up even just for serving on the board. Do you have students in the school? You're still a taxpayer. So how's it? And there's been some policies passed from the Williamson County School Board in terms of, I think it was going back to like book challenges and those kind of things where you did have to have a student in the school. You couldn't challenge it otherwise. So I think it all goes back, including the legislature, to your earlier point of why are we trying to add all this bureaucracy on? Why can't we just let the teachers teach? Why do we have to have all these extra rules? Let's go back and look at the basics of the basic curriculums, take the politics out of schools as much as possible. It can never be completely out, but I hope that answers your question. I don't think we need that. Why are we adding bureaucracy onto it? That's teacher's license, teach.
That's just one example.
Yeah.
That's just one example. How involved would you be? Are you running as an independent, a Democrat, or a Republican?
I am running as a Republican.
Okay.
I currently serve on the Williamson County Republican Party board. So.
Now, I've gotten a couple of releases just in the last couple of days about the Williamson County Republican platform.
Right.
I don't get it, but it's news.
Right.
And we'll have Mr. Hickey on to explain it. Maybe he can explain it to this old man.
Excellent.
But where do you stop being a Republican to be a school board member? You get the gist of the question.
I do, Tom. It goes back to what your earlier statement was with parents. When you're talking to them, it shouldn't matter. And I think if you ask my employees at work, it would be the same way. They don't know where I stand on things. I don't want them to know where I stand in terms of politics.
Yeah.
We should be able to have a relationship. We should be able to listen to ideas and make data, I say it's cliche, but data-driven decisions. What does the data show? And that's what we need to, that's how I would make the decisions. It shouldn't, your party, of course, that from an ethics, moral standards kind of standpoint, that's going to be in the back of your brain, but you've got to look at the data and you've got to make the best decisions based on that.
The school board, now they're close to 9,000 employees in the Williamson County school system, but the school board only has one. Only one of them
That's right.
belongs to the school board.
That's right.
That's the superintendent.
Right.
Evaluate the superintendent, if you would, as a school board member.
Right. Yeah. You're exactly right. That's the only employee the school board manages is the superintendent. So with Jason, Mr. Golden, you have to have that good relationship and understand what is his history, background, how does he govern. He's an employee. You need to do an employee review on him, and they do every year, and it's public, just like you would on the team members that you manage at work. I mean, you're running a very large $600 million enterprise, and so I think coming in as a new board member, you have to, I've certainly emailed him. I've not talked to him in person, but we've had some email exchanges over different things. And so I would want to come in fresh and start just like you would a new employee, 30, 60, 90, meet with them, give them regardless of whatever, preconceived things you might have, start fresh, because a board member is a different position than I am currently as a taxpayer or parent.
Well, we're out of time.
Yeah, we are.
Good to see you again.
You too.
Good
Absolutely.
luck to you.
Thanks, Tom.
Jennifer Convene is a candidate for Williamson County Board of Education, the 10th District. Where is the 10th District?
So the 10th District of Williamson County encompasses much of the area around historic downtown Franklin along the north side. I live in the Founders Point neighborhood. We are on one far side of the 10th District, and then it goes along Del Rio, all the way along towards the factory and down Liberty Pike to Eagles Glen and Andover.
Only one incumbent chose to run this year in the Williamson County School Board. Now only half the incumbents were up for election. Why do you think that is? Why did only one incumbent run?
I think that for each candidate, or each current board member, I should say, they all have their own different reasons, but I do think that something that everybody in Williamson County is, I think, very aware of, and that I think does take a toll on our elected officials is, the school board in Williamson County is not a hands-off, sit-back kind of role. Our parents have very high expectations for our school district, and that comes through in the expectations that they have for school board members. And so I think that everybody, who has been on the board has done a wonderful job serving their constituents. And I also know that, after years of serving on the school board, it can become really tiring, and sometimes people are ready for a break. So I'm sure that is a part of it, along with each individual's aspirations outside of the school board.
I'm making a presumption. I presume you're a parent.
I am, yes.
Tell us about your family. Tell us about your job. In other words, give us something to judge you by.
Absolutely. So I am a mom of two. My husband and I have a 6-year-old who is in kindergarten at Poplar Grove Elementary. We're in a part of District 10 that is zoned for Franklin Special for K through 8. And then our son just turned 3 at the end of February. So he is not yet in our public school system, but will be a public school student in just a few short years. My husband, Matt, and I got married in 2018. His family actually lived in the same neighborhood we live in, Founders Point, when they moved down here from the Chicago area, not long before he started high school. And we moved down to Franklin in 2022. So I'm a Nashville native. We were living in my childhood home in Northwest Nashville prior to moving down here, but we're really excited to be closer to my in-laws. They still live in Franklin, even though they're not in Founders Point anymore, and it was about an hour drive from our old house to where they are. So it was really great to be able to be down here, as well as just everything Williamson County has to offer. We were thrilled to be able to have access to the school district down here by moving here, and have just really enjoyed our time here. My grandparents, my mom's parents, were from Franklin, or lived in Franklin. And so I have been connected to the community my whole life, started volunteering at Saddle Up in middle school. And so even though I am not a Franklin native, I definitely have long ties to the community. As far as my employment, I just recently started a new position with Kaimari House. We are a nonprofit that provides sliding scale supervised visitation services to parents in Middle Tennessee. We are currently based in Murfreesboro, but I was hired because we are expanding into Williamson County again after I believe about 11 years of not being in Williamson County. So we are very excited to be moving back into the area. My role with them is as a community outreach specialist, and so I get to be out in the community meeting folks from other organizations as well as just community members who are interested in supporting our work, and that's something that I love. I also am self-employed. I design adoption profile books for hopeful adoptive families. My family is an adoptive family. Both of our kids came to us through adoption, and after going through that process, I started my business of helping guide families through the process of creating their adoption profile books. And so that's something else that I get to do along with the work I do at Kaimari House that just really helps me feel like I'm giving back to families in the community and helping them as they prepare to grow their families, just in the same way that we grew ours.
What drew your attention to this race? Why do you want to be on the school board?
My degree is in child development. I graduated from Vanderbilt University, and my child development degree was research focused. And so something that has always been important to me, while I was not somebody who felt that the classroom was the best place that I could serve our children, I care deeply about how we educate and care for our children because they are the future of our community. And ultimately, I think that a lot of what's been happening on our school board, and certainly not just the Williamson County School Board, I think that this is the case throughout the state and beyond, is that there isn't quite as much focus on conversation right now on what's data driven and what research shows is going to benefit our kids. The reality is there's a lot of conversation around topics that are more special interest driven and that are, maybe a trending talking point for some folks, but ultimately there's not research that shows that making changes in those areas that people are talking about would benefit our children. And so that is a big part of why I wanted to run for the school board, was to be a voice for that data mindset of, what do we have in terms of research that shows what's going to benefit our students and help continue to make Williamson County students some of the best prepared students in the state and in the country when they leave our school system after graduating high school.
That's an interesting concept. Give me a for instance.
Yeah, so, I think everyone is aware of conversations that have been going on since back around 2020 around removing books from school libraries. And I think that is a great example of something that, people may have very well thought out reasons for why they want something to happen, like books being removed from school libraries. Ultimately, there isn't research that shows that removing literature from our school libraries is benefiting our students, regardless of what that literature is. And so I think that is just one example of something that has definitely been a big talking point over the last 6 years in Williamson County, and has even started moving on to counties around Williamson. That definitely is something we could be looking more at the research.
Are you a Republican, a Democrat, an independent?
Prior to this election, I'll be fully transparent and say that I never affiliated with a particular party. In this particular election, I did choose to run as a Democrat. The reason that I chose to do that was largely based on the fact that whether I ran as an independent or a Democrat was not going to change anything that I would do if I was elected to school board. And so I chose to affiliate with the party that I feel like aligns with my values and how I will represent my constituents on the school board. That being said, I have voted for Republicans in the past, just as I have voted for Democrats, and I hope that those who have voted Republican in the past will be willing to listen to my viewpoints regardless of the D behind my name.
Maybe I should abdicate the next question. but I'm going to ask it anyway. You have to repeat things to me. Can you, and this question has been answered by, I'm going to say, several Republicans in the last couple of days. I have asked, can you lay your party affiliation down? Because it's only been recently that this race, you could even declare a preference. And the answer has been, I think so. What do you say? Can you lay any political thoughts down in a school board meeting when a vote makes a difference?
Absolutely. I frankly don't think that partisan politics should be a part of the school board at all. However, Williamson County is a big part of why the state of Tennessee chose to allow school boards to be partisan. That is a big part also of why I chose to run as a Democrat versus an independent, is that it is a partisan race. We have people who are choosing to run as Republicans, and there's no reason we shouldn't have people choosing to run as Democrats. However, when I am elected to school board, my ultimate number one priority and interest is the best interest of our students. And so I don't care how that aligns with the National Democratic Party's talking points. I don't care how that aligns with any other party's talking points. Ultimately, I am going to make the decision that I think is going to be best for our students.
Let's pursue that a little bit, because this particular school board has a reputation. 9 times out of 10, they will follow the recommendations by the superintendent or professional staff. One time they didn't, then it was very obvious, and that was in choosing a textbook. They did not accept, it's accurate to say they did not accept the staff's recommendation.
Correct.
They went out on their own. Now, I haven't heard, no, they adopted a textbook. And maybe this is the incident that got your attention. But it was very public, very transparent, and the people that voted for it were pretty clear why they voted for it. So this is what you're talking about. And that kind of policy, if you would, wouldn't fly with you.
In my opinion, no. I don't agree with the textbook that was adopted last year. I think that our educators are hired because of their expertise and the fact that they are the ones who are trained to be educators and know how to best educate our students. And I think that we should be putting a lot more weight on what our educators are saying is best for our students, because they are very plugged in with the research and the data that suggests what is going to be best for educating them.
What are you doing to get elected?
I have been connecting with folks around the neighborhoods in my district, as well as beyond, of course, because even those who don't live in my district know people who do. I have been involved in advocacy work for much of the last decade, and so that has allowed me to get to know people in all kinds of different walks of life with all kinds of different backgrounds and political views, and I am using that same expertise and experience to get to know people in my district. Ultimately, I want people to get to know me as their neighbor more than a school board candidate. Yes, I'm running for school board, but I want people to just meet me and know that, hey, I'm one of your neighbors, and I am running because I care about my kids' education as much as I care about your kids' education. And so trying to get out there, trying to make sure that I am present at community events and district events. I've been at the school board meetings, looking forward to getting to meet constituents there, and just really trying to spread the word. As you said, not a lot of incumbents, and only one, are running in this particular election, and so there are a lot of new names, but some of the people running are not quite so new, even if they've not been elected before. I recognize that I am newer to the area, even though I do have lifelong ties, and so just trying to make sure that people understand that even though I might be newer to this area, I do have those lifelong ties, and I do care deeply about our community.
About 9,000 people work in Williamson County schools, approximately. Several thousand teachers, several thousand support personnel. But only one of them works for you, works for the school board.
That's correct.
This is your last question. Evaluate the current superintendent, who does say have 8,999 employees.
I think that Superintendent Golden has done a lot of great work in our district. I am certainly not somebody who is coming into the school board to say that I think we need to reinvent the wheel, that we need to reassess whether or not we have the right superintendent at the moment. That being said, I think that there are concerns Williamson County parents have that ultimately do come up to the superintendent level. And so there are things that I would like to see, such as making sure that the expectations being set by the superintendent for each individual school under their administration is consistent. Making sure that when families are moving to the area, they're not having to ask questions like, my child has autism, which school might be the best school for them to go to. It should make a difference which school in Williamson County they're zoned for. Our superintendent should be making sure that every school administration is making sure that every school is meeting the same standards. And so while I think that Superintendent Golden has been a wonderful superintendent, and I have no doubt he will continue to be, there is some accountability I would love to see if I'm elected to the school board.
Congratulations upon your choices. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.